So normally when we discuss SIPs, we look at it from an investor perspective. So I ask you a simple question: why are you all doing SIPs? What does it mean to you? And how can you build a good business for yourself through the SIP route is something which I want to discuss in the next 14 minutes, 40 seconds. So let me start with an example, because when you look at doing business, the first thing needed from you as a businessman is your acumen for the business. And let us discuss what I mean by acumen. Here are two gentlemen, both started SIPs of 60,000 rupees. Now, one person decided to let the SIPs run at 60,000. The other person said, I am capable of generating 12% return through these SIPs. Why don't I form a pact with my investor? He goes to the investor and he says, I'll get you 12%. Why don't you add 12% from your side? And let's make this a partnership. I am bringing some accountability to the table. I'll give you 12%. So you become my partner. You add 12%. As a result, what happened is the difference in the two slides. Simple top-up of 12% led to a difference in not only the AUM of the client, the AUM of the distributor, but we are talking about the difference in brokerage. The first person is taking a brokerage of 20 lakhs 59,000. The second person, who did a simple 12% top-up, is sitting on a brokerage of 89 lakhs over a period of time. A simple addition to acumen to this business can add this kind of a catapulting result to your brokerage is my simple submission. So what am I telling you? I'm just telling a very simple mathematics of our business, the rule of 72. Now you decide whether you want to put 12% on the table or 8% of the table or 10% on the table. But what it brings is your acumen, your accountability, and more important, a very meaningful discussion with your client that I am also responsible for something. Why don't you come to the table with that same something? Now, it's up to you to build business, and it's a very easy way of doubling your AUM. At 12% on the rule of 72, you will double your AUM in, say, 6 years, right? Now, 12 plus 12 makes it 24. A simple maths will tell you, you can double your AUM in 3 years in this process. Choice is yours. But the main point is, are you building that acumen in building your AUMs? I think Ankur talked about one big idea at the end of the day. The other way is to look at bringing rule of 72 to your business. The second part is very interesting. And when I look at what big idea I have to leave, I'll be leaving behind this big idea for you. Please concentrate on the screen. That's what we practice at Mirae Assets. Our SIP book should give us our total cost. Your revenue from your SIP book should take care of your overheads. Once you have that target, you know your overheads, and if you're going to build your SIP book according to this, you bring a meaning to your business through your SIP. It's a very simple way of doing it. We are at around 900 crores of SIP. At this moment, we are a little short of covering our entire overheads through this. But trust me, by next year, at Mirae Asset, we would cover our entire overhead cost through our SIP revenue. It's the best way of building your business. Once your revenue is taken care of, you are ready to express anything in your own way. The pressure of just running your overheads can be taken off by the SIP book. The second part, and a lot of times as MC guys and you, the discussion is on the brokerage. I'm giving a live example of two funds in one category. The first fund gives you 1%. The second fund, or the first fund gives you 80 paisa. The second fund gives you 1%. Which fund will you sell? There were 4 NFOs last month. The person who paid the highest brokerage sold. That was reality. But if this fund outperforms, which in this case the 80 paisa fund has outperformed the other one, the brokerage difference is staggering. So when you look at the skill to your business, the skill that you have to bring to the table is not how much brokerage you negotiate with your AMC, and I'm not being selfish on this one. I'm looking at it from your point of view. If you get a better performing fund, because the trail brokerage then progresses, your brokerage actually will be higher than just that 1 or 80 paisa. So think about it. Concentrate on building skills on getting a better fund than negotiating with a fund house for higher brokerage. It may not always be correct. That's the second point. But let's look at what's happening in the MFD market. This is the number of MFDs in the country, 118,000. Broadly, an MFD business is done on equity. This MFD business is catering to 13,23,000 crores of AUM, total AUM. 65% of this AUM is in equity. 12% is in debt, 2% is in liquid, 18% is in hybrid, and 3% is in fund of funds. That's the broad MFD market. Out of 118,000, 116,000 MFDs are below 100 crores of AUM. Their asset allocation is 70% equity. For lack of time, I'll not go deeper into it. Their asset allocation is 70% equity. Now, there are only 2,000 MFDs with AUM between 100 and 500 crores. Their asset allocation is 63% to equity. Their allocation to hybrid is slightly more than people below 100 crores. Now, let's look at the others, which is 240 MFDs in this country whose AUMs are above 500 crores. Their allocation to equity is only 51%. Only 51%, contrary to a lot of discussions which happen when I meet a lot of MFDs. A lot of their money is in their hybrids. So people who are scaling up business actually are concentrating more on scaling the hybrid part of the business than pure equity. Why? Let's look at the why of the story. This is the financial asset data of the Indian in the country. This is the RBI data where I think if you look at the split, 30% of the money is in bank deposits, 34% money is in gold, PF covers 13%, insurance covers 13%, and only 10% is in equity. The broad risk profile of the investor is that of a safe investor. That is why MFDs who are concentrating more on products towards that risk profile are able to scale their business larger. Hence, people who are selling more hybrids are able to grow their AUM more. Most of the equity SIPs, and nearly 40% of the equity SIPs, are now in the riskiest part of the asset management risk profile. With that, how much will you be able to say, get to your side is something which I leave on you. And that's the big question. When you build your SIP book, should it be restricted only to equity? Number one. If I look at last year's data, 45% went not to equity, but to small cap. Is this the risk profile of the underlying investor is something which I ask you. You have to look at it from your perspective. There is a dramatic difference between the risk profile of your investor and what you are selling in the market. I am going by market data with no bias. When you look at the opportunity in India, and I topically go to, we have to, as mutual fund sellers, wear some suits. People told me when I started doing, I used to sell FDs, कि नहीं म्यूचुअल फंड अलग है, इधर सूट पहनना पड़ता है, तो अभी मैं सूट पहन रहा हूँ. आई वेंट टू अ टेलर इन बैंड्रा एंड देन आई सेड कि मास्टर जी ये पेट थोड़ा बढ़ गया है, थोड़ा फॉल का ठीक रखना. He said नहीं ये पेट आपका प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, इंडिया का प्रॉब्लम है. And we are able to take care of this thing. But when you look at the wealth progression in India, it is practically following my shape. This was the wealth of India in 2005 with just 1% which we called super rich. In 2018, suddenly we are seeing what used to be poor is broadly now, from a triangle we are becoming like me, little bulge in the tummy. The wealth of India is finally creating, but project it in the next 8 years. And that is what all of us have to think as the biggest opportunity India has. India crosses $2,000 per capita. This is what India is going to look like. I hope I don't look like this in 2030. But fact is, Indians are making some serious money. Hence, today, if I lose my job, I will become an MFD tomorrow. That's the opportunity. Because that's what is happening. All this needs is a good business acumen, a little bit of skill. The money is there for you. I think MFDs will work in this part, where bulk of the money is happening in India. It's up to you to look at this opportunity. Ankur was talking about 10 crores revenue. I am asking how many of you are targeting a 50 crore SIP book for yourself. Simple maths will take you there. With a 50 crore SIP, you can imagine what your revenue can be. That's what India is going to. It's up to you to participate in this story. So it's a time to start looking very big. And I agree with Ankur's last slide on what can revenue happen. But this is one story. Let me come to the last part of my slide and not be a spoiler. I think Mayuk talked about this business of staying invested. Let us look at last year. Last year, the industry AUM at the beginning of last year was 15 lakh 40,000. It ended the year, I think, at 23.5 lakh equity AUM. Equity AUM grew by 7 lakh 70,000 crores. That was the industry last year. Let's look at what you and I did, because we are salespeople, right? The reality is, as it stands, in probably one of the best years of Indian equity, this is what happened to the industry. Our gross sales for the year was, in equity only, 4,79,000 crores for the entire year between Feb 2023 and Jan 2024. Our redemptions were 3,09,720. Our net sales for the industry was 1,69,000 crores only in the best year of Indian economy markets. Incidentally, the SIP book for the entire year was 1,88,000. Our net sales is lower than our SIP book of the industry. That's the reality. The markets are making money. The investors are not making money. That's the truth. And that's something which we have to reflect upon. I tweeted in September 2012 that my 1 lakh in, I'm not selling my fund, 1 lakh in emerging blue chip became 10 lakhs in September 2022. 10 lakhs in 10 years. What did I do? I just picked a manager, I sat with the manager. But if this is the status, trust me, Indians will not make money, the markets will make money. Market को 1,60,000 मिल गया, वो चल पड़ा. So you have to reflect on what we are doing. Hence, I will conclude by saying that, please make your business very simple and strive with a top-up. Don't take any SIP without a top-up. A 12% top-up can change your game, is what I showed in the first slide. No SIP without a top-up. It can change your revenue dramatically. And bring accountability to their business. I'll give you 12, you give me 12. Or I'll give you 10, you give me 10. That's when the investors start. The investor has money. He's not giving us the money. Putting the money in bank deposits, as we see. We're just getting 10% of the flow. All equity, not just us. All of us. There's scope for building it further. And I feel a lot of the scope is if you start doing SIPs in hybrids also. Your AUMs can grow exponentially. Your revenue in hybrid is equal to equity. Right? Second one is innovate through fund selection. I know Mr. Tandon will speak after me. How many, and let's give Mr. Tandon a big round of applause. Top-end performance across categories, it's a pleasure, right? How many of you identified him 7 years ago? That's the skill. If you have that skill, there is nothing that can stop you, right? The last part, obviously, is prosper with the power of compounding. Bring power of compounding to your business. Again, bringing back my story that 10 lakhs in 10 years is 12.5 lakhs after 3 months, because the compounding is now on 10 lakhs, not on 1 lakh. Right? Build your business in a very simple manner with simple maths. Bring accountability in front of your clients, and reaching the figure which Ankur talked about is just a matter of time. I wish you all the best in investing in the future. Work for your client. There is this only simple formula. The client makes money, the distributor makes money, then the MC makes money. That's the formula. You try to change this formula, it doesn't work. From your client's money comes your money. Your revenue comes second. Build that. For us, our revenue comes third. You make money, then we'll make money. If we try to overrun, it doesn't work. And sustain it for the next 10 years. This is the country to be. This country is going to 7 trillion. Now I leave it up to you whether you look at India at 7 trillion or Sensex at 70,000 crores. It's your call. Yeah. Thank you so much for your patient listening.